Iran is one of the oldest civilizations on Earth. For thousands of years it was known as Persia, a name that conjured images of vast empires, legendary kings, and unimaginable wealth. But today, Iran is at the center of a war that could reshape the entire Middle East. How did we get here? This is the full story of Iran, from ancient glory to modern chaos, in one video. Let's start at the very beginning. Over 5,000 years ago, one of humanity's earliest civilizations emerged on the Iranian plateau. The Elamites built the city of Susa around 4000 BC, making it one of the oldest cities in human history. But the story of Iran as we know it truly begins with one man, Cyrus the Great. In 550 BC, Cyrus united the Persian tribes and founded the Achaemenid Empire, the largest empire the world had ever seen. At its peak, it stretched from Egypt and Greece in the west to India in the east. It covered over 2 million square miles and ruled roughly 44% of the world's population. But Cyrus wasn't just a conqueror. He issued the Cyrus Cylinder, widely considered the first declaration of human rights in history. He freed enslaved peoples, respected local religions, and allowed conquered nations to keep their customs. The ancient Greeks, his enemies, even admired him. Persia had announced itself to the world. After Cyrus came Darius the Great, who built the legendary city of Persepolis, a capital so magnificent that its ruins still take your breath away today. He connected the empire with a royal road stretching over 1,600 miles. He standardized currency, weights, and measures across dozens of nations. The Persian Empire was the most advanced civilization on the planet. But then came the wars with Greece. The battles of Marathon, Thermopylae, where 300 Spartans made their famous stand. And Salamis became legendary. Persia lost. And in 330 BC, Alexander the Great invaded, defeated King Darius III, burned Persepolis, and ended the Achaemenid dynasty forever. But Persia didn't die. It reinvented itself. After Alexander's death, the Parthian Empire rose from the ashes and ruled for nearly 500 years, becoming Rome's greatest rival in the east. Then came the Sassanid Empire in 224 AD, a golden age of Persian civilization. The Sassanids revived Zoroastrianism, the ancient Persian religion of fire temples and cosmic dualism between good and evil. They built grand cities, advanced medicine and astronomy, and created a civilization that rivaled anything in Europe or China. For over 400 years, the Sassanids were one of the two great superpowers of the ancient world, alongside the Roman and later Byzantine empires. Then in the 7th century, everything changed. Arab armies, fueled by the new religion of Islam, swept across the Middle East. In 651 AD, the last Sassanid emperor was killed and Persia fell to the Islamic Conquest. Over the following centuries, Iran was transformed. Zoroastrianism gave way to Islam. Arabic became the language of religion and scholarship. But here's what makes Iran unique. It was Islamized, but never Arabized. The Persian language survived, Persian culture survived, and Persians eventually created their own distinct version of Islam, one that would define the country for centuries to come. During the Islamic Golden Age, Persian scholars led the world in science, mathematics, medicine, and literature. The poet Ferdowsi spent 30 years writing the Shahnameh, the Book of Kings, an epic poem of 50,000 verses that preserved Persian history and identity at a time when Arabic culture threatened to absorb it entirely. Scholars like Avicenna revolutionized medicine. Omar Khayyam advanced algebra and astronomy. Rumi wrote poetry that is still read by millions today. Persia wasn't just surviving under Islam, it was thriving. Then came devastation. In the 1200s, the Mongol Empire invaded. Genghis Khan and his armies destroyed entire cities, slaughtered millions, and reduced Iran's population by as much as 90% in some regions. Libraries were burned. Irrigation systems were destroyed. It was one of the worst catastrophes in human history. It took Iran centuries to recover, but recover it did. In 1501, a transformative moment. The Safavid dynasty came to power and made Shia Islam the official religion of Iran. This single decision changed everything. It separated Iran from its Sunni neighbors, the Ottoman Empire to the west, the Mughals to the east, and created the religious identity that defines Iran to this day. Under Shah Abbas the Great, the Safavid Empire became a major world power. The capital city of Isfahan was called half the world for its stunning architecture, grand bazaars, and beautiful mosques. Persia was back on the world stage. But the following centuries brought decline. The Safavids fell. Weak dynasties followed. And by the 1800s, Iran found itself caught between two imperial giants, Britain and Russia. The Great Game, as it was called, turned Iran into a pawn. Britain wanted access to India. Russia wanted warm water ports. Iran lost territory, sovereignty, and dignity. The discovery of oil in 1908 made things worse. Britain created the Anglo-Persian Oil Company and extracted Iran's wealth for decades while Iranians saw almost nothing in return. In 1921, a military officer named Reza Khan seized power in a coup. By 1925, he crowned himself Shah, king, and founded the Pahlavi dynasty. Reza Shah modernized Iran at breakneck speed. He built railways, factories, universities, and hospitals. He banned the veil and forced Western-style clothing on the population. He changed the country's official name from Persia to Iran in 1935. But his authoritarian rule and his flirtation with Nazi Germany during World War II led to disaster. In 1941, Britain and the Soviet Union invaded Iran and forced him to abdicate. His young son, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, took the throne. The new Shah's early years were rocky. In 1951, a popular prime minister named Mohammad Mossadegh nationalized Iran's oil industry, taking it back from the British. The British were furious. In 1953, the CIA and British intelligence orchestrated a coup that overthrew Mossadegh and restored the Shah to full power. It was a moment that would poison US-Iran relations for generations. The Shah ruled with an iron fist for the next 25 years, backed by SAVAK, one of the most feared secret police forces in the world. He modernized the economy and gave women the right to vote, but crushed all political dissent. Thousands were imprisoned, tortured, and killed. By the late 1970s, Iranians had had enough. Inflation was soaring. Inequality was staggering. Religious leaders were furious at the Shah's Western ways. In 1978, mass protests erupted across the country. Millions took to the streets. On January 16, 1979, the Shah fled Iran. 2 weeks later, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, a 76-year-old cleric who had been in exile for 15 years, returned to Tehran to crowds of millions. The Islamic Revolution had succeeded. Iran became an Islamic republic, a theocracy ruled by religious law. The monarchy that had lasted 2,500 years was over. The revolution shocked the world. In November 1979, Iranian students stormed the American embassy in Tehran and took 52 Americans hostage for 444 days. It was a humiliation that destroyed US-Iran relations and helped end Jimmy Carter's presidency. Then, in 1980, Saddam Hussein's Iraq invaded Iran, starting an 8-year war that killed over 1 million people. Chemical weapons were used on Iranian soldiers and civilians. Child soldiers were sent to clear minefields. It was one of the bloodiest conflicts since World War II. Iran fought alone, isolated, sanctioned, and abandoned by the international community. After Khomeini's death in 1989, Ali Khamenei became supreme leader and held that position for 36 years. Under Khamenei, Iran became a regional superpower through its network of proxy forces: Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas in Gaza, the Houthis in Yemen, and Shia militias across Iraq and Syria. Iran pursued a nuclear program that terrified the world and brought crippling sanctions. The economy suffered enormously, but the regime held firm. Reform movements were crushed. The 1999 student protests, the 2009 Green Movement, the 2017 economic protests, and the 2022 Woman, Life, Freedom Uprising after the death of Mahsa Amini. Each time, the regime responded with violence, arrests, and executions. The relationship between Iran and the United States defined much of the country's modern history. The 2015 nuclear deal, the JCPOA, briefly offered hope of reconciliation, But when President Trump withdrew from the deal in 2018 and imposed maximum pressure sanctions, Iran's economy cratered. In January 2020, the US killed Iran's top general, Qasem Soleimani, in a drone strike, bringing the two countries to the brink of war. Tensions only escalated from there. In 2024, the Israel-Hamas war triggered the first direct military exchanges between Iran and Israel in history. In 2025, a 12-day war erupted between them, with US strikes targeting Iranian nuclear sites. Then in early 2026, Iran's largest protests in decades erupted, and the regime massacred thousands of its own citizens. Nuclear talks with the US collapsed. President Trump warned that help was on the way. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched a massive joint military strike on Iran. The operation, codenamed Operation Epic Fury by the Pentagon, targeted military sites, IRGC bases, and leadership compounds across the country, including downtown Tehran. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei was killed in the strikes, along with senior IRGC commanders. Iranian state television confirmed his death, calling him a martyr. 40 days of mourning were declared, but across Iran, millions danced in the streets in celebration, while security forces opened fire on some of the crowds. Iran launched retaliatory strikes against US bases and Israel. The Middle East was plunged into its most dangerous crisis in decades. And so here we are. A civilization that has endured for over 5,000 years, that built the world's first empire, gave humanity its first declaration of human rights, survived Alexander, the Mongols, the Arabs, the British, and its own revolutions, now stands at the most uncertain crossroads in its history. The supreme leader is dead, the regime is shaking, and the Iranian people, who have suffered through decades of repression, war, and sanctions, are asking a question that has echoed through Persian history for millennia. What comes next? Iran's story is not over. It is one of the oldest, richest, and most dramatic stories in all of human history. And right now, a new chapter is being written. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you understand what's happening in Iran, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who needs to see it. Drop a comment below. What do you think happens next? We'll see you in the next one.